Welcome to Navigating the Customer Experience. Want to improve your organization's customer service? Looking for insider tips to knock your customer socks off? Then you're in the right place. Here's your host, Yannick Grant.
Welcome to Navigating the Customer Experience. On today's episode, we have with us a very special guest. Her name is Sheree Martin. Sheree is an experienced executive with a strong result-oriented focus. She has spent the last 15 years driving strategies geared towards increasing business value, known as an inspiring and strategic leader with a proven ability to establish effective teams. She has a track record of achievements in the areas of business strategy, marketing, risk management, organizational transformation, and corporate innovation. After a distinguished career at the National Commercial Bank Group, Sheree decided to join the Jamaica Public Service Company Limited in January 2014. She was appointed to the executive team to lead human resources, government and regulatory affairs, revenue management, customer service, and communications. The company recorded significant improvements in its survey ratings for employee engagement and customer satisfaction while she headed those portfolios. During her time overseeing HR, Sheree placed an expanded focus on leadership development by spearheading a new high-potential program called JPS iLead, which exposed select employees over a 12-month period to advanced leadership competencies, knowledge building, executive mentoring, and targeted on-the-job training. Recognizing the intrinsic value of productive and well-rounded employees, Sheree also introduced the first company-wide corporate wellness program at the Jamaica Public Service. The program, which started in 2015, has been a contributing factor to improved staff morale and reduced healthcare costs. So without further delay, welcome Sheree.
Thank you, Yannick. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. All right. So we are being listened to in over 70 countries worldwide. Many of our listeners actually are business owners, they're new startup entrepreneurs, and some of them are even experienced entrepreneurs. So with such a wide experience in corporate, Jamaica, and working in leading organizations in Jamaica that have seen great, potential improvement, could you share with us a little bit about, how you started on your journey? How did you know that this is really what you were destined, to manifest into this world? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I think I really listen a lot to what my heart tells me in a lot of ways. I try to find passion in what I'm doing and purpose. And if there's resonance with a particular path or an activity, I find that I typically pursue it. That started as a very conscious way of living in around 1997, a year after my first daughter was born. And I came upon a book called The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy. And it really led me down to insights that really spoke to me, opening up myself to being more specific about my visions and my goals and being more purposeful about how I create my future. Mm-hmm. And so I typically will engage in activities or pursue paths or form alliances and partnerships with companies, people, teams that just really are consciously, put into my space because of what I'm trying to create. And what I'm trying to create is just this sense of being able to give back, being able to have others think of themselves as, empowered creatures, and just being able to manifest their desires and their goals. And I brought that over into the corporate world in a very conscious way. JPS has allowed me to do that. NCB was wonderful in a lot of ways as far as me learning and growing on my own self. But at JPS, I've been able to extend it to others. And so in a roundabout way, I think what has happened over the last 20 years with my career really represents an unfolding of me and sharing that with others.
Amazing. So a big part of what I took away from what you said a while ago is that everything starts with self, right?
Absolutely.
And so as a leader, it's really important for you to understand who you are as a person and what you bring to the table. And therefore, you'll be able to add greater value to the lives of the persons that you interact with. True?
I agree.
So as it relates to customer service, every business that you've worked with thus far, is one in which you have customers, correct? Whether they're internal or external.
Yes, external. Mm-hmm.
And could you tell us maybe 3 success factors that you find have made you successful as a leader to really yield the kind of results that you're looking for? Not so much the financial results, because we found that comes at the end, but more so the interpersonal results in terms of that individual actually moving from one level to the next in their own life.
Right. So it's amazing that you said, what I just described, you took away the fact that you start with self, right? And in service and in customer experience, I feel the same way for companies, because a company is an entity, if you think about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the elements of successful companies that are driven by a service culture is to start internally. And so what are the processes? What are the policies that are not customer friendly? How are your employees able to be served internally? Across departments, across teams, across divisions. I think I've seen and I've lived examples of teams and companies and departments where internal service is taken as a first pillar towards an ultimate external customer experience that the company can boast about. I also think that companies that look at taking feedback from their constituents, both internal and external, in a structured way and in a sustained way, and using that feedback along with other strategies to drive how their business actually continues to execute, have found success, and sustainably so. One of my most favorite TV shows, I don't get to watch it very often, but I remember when it was just launched and I was just fascinated and wondered if it was, it was staged, but only to learn that it was actually, real, was Undercover Boss.
Yes.
I absolutely adore that concept of bosses going out into the field, interacting with their own employees, listening to what their issues are on the ground, possibly interacting with customers as well, and using that now to take back to the boardroom or to take back to their executive team and talk about how the company is showing up. Very, very powerful. So I think start just like self, in terms of your own development as an individual, companies should start internally, looking at how the first line of service, which is internal, is actually being handled, treated, given focus. What are some of the pain points? How can you address those pain points? How is the flow internally? Because what you get on the outside is as a result of a lot of internal work. And of course, as I said, getting feedback constantly and in a structured way from your constituents really does help you to drive better decisions. Very
true. Amazing. So another takeaway that I got from what you said a while ago was you said, what you experience on the outside is a result of what's happening on the inside,
right,
which dovetails nicely into, what inspired me to want to speak with you in the first place when I heard you speaking at the Caribbean Speakers event a couple of weeks back.
Right.
And you spoke about the 7 dimensions of wellness, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Now, my sister is a dietitian, and I must say, just her line of work and the field that she's exposed to has really opened my eyes. Not that I didn't know it before, but when you have like that blinding flash of the obvious, you're like, oh,
yes.
Wait. I realize that what we put into our body is a direct result of what we see on the outside. And
yes.
So, it could be compared to the organization. So could you share with us, why these, dimensions of wellness is so important, and how does it even relate to customer experience and customer service?
Well, let's continue on the analogy of what we're putting inside. So typically when we think about wellness, we think about, physical wellness or nutrition, and those are absolutely critical, right?
Yes.
So you have to be conscious of, how you are feeding your body with energy. And so the food that you choose obviously impacts your ability to manifest, your ability to perform, your ability to execute on your goals, and your ability to show up the way you want to show up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So physical wellness, nutrition, fitness, all of that is absolutely critical. But typically what you find is that companies or individuals stop there. In most cases, I think that's the extent of wellness. I just need to make sure I eat properly and I'm exercising.
Mm-hmm.
I find, however, that, we are missing out on very, very significant other dimensions, which have to do also with energy, which we don't typically hear about or learn about, but which are just as important. And now energy is everything, right?
Yes.
So even your thoughts can affect how you, eventually show up and what you are seeing around you, what you're thinking about. So what are you consuming mentally? And how are you feeling emotionally as a result of thoughts and perceptions and, receptions that you're getting from the various stimuli in your environment.
Right.
That is an aspect of wellness that, at JPS, we have really consciously started talking about more and more. I read an interesting statistic the other day, I think I tweeted it, just talking about WhatsApp and how it is, so popular, and how many messages, over 50 million messages being transmitted every day between people, yet 48% of persons claim that they are lonely.
Wow.
So, that's, some of us, there's some anomaly there, right? Because you think. And so we thought about physical, we thought about emotional, we thought about, just social wellness. How are we integrating internally? And how are we making connections that are meaningful and vibrant with each other? Those things are important. Intellectual wellness, are we learning? Are we mentally stimulating our minds on a constant basis? I'm very aware of people who call themselves experts because, things are always changing, and there are new paradigms and new versions coming out in whatever field that you're in. And so this habit of continuous learning and wanting to consume additional information and not really claiming that you've done and that's it, I'm now an expert. There are layers to that. And I love when people are talking about just how they are continually trying to improve their knowledge. So there's an intellectual wellness. And then, there's a whole business that we don't talk about in environmental wellness. I am a big fan of your physical space representing your mental space. And so when I go into areas, whether it's a company, it's a department, a car, and it's cluttered and it's dirty, I don't like to pass judgment, but I immediately get a sense of, just what could be impacting this person's ability to be able to think clearly or to just perform with, flawless and clean execution. Because if their environment is cluttered, invariably 9 out of 10 times their minds are also cluttered.
So true.
And so environmental wellness and just being conscious of how we are integrating with nature, those are things you don't typically talk about in corporate, but companies I've found, and a couple that I've read about, are seeing success when they look at wellness in a more holistic way, because now they bring this to their employees. They facilitate programs that allow their employees to think about all dimensions of wellness, not just open a gym or have a salad bar at the cafeteria. That's not the extent of it. They go further. And then that now obviously shows on the outside and impacts their service with their customers.
Amazing. Truly amazing. So we said physical, emotional, social, intellectual, environmental. Did we miss out? I think we missed
occupational. Right. So physical, emotional, intellectual, social, spiritual. I don't talk a lot about spiritual because, you get on people's, list of whether you are pro-religion, anti-religion. I don't want to use the word that, you talk about atheist. But the fact is, spiritual wellness means whatever your relationship with source is, whatever you call source. It is something that you want to consciously cultivate, consciously develop, consciously maintain, and use it as a source of power, source of comfort. I certainly find that it allows me to refresh. I meditate every day, and I make sure that I'm constantly trying to keep in touch with source. And the results are just really
amazing,
astounding.
Amazing. All right. So we spoke a little bit, just as a recap, about the physical, the emotional, the social, the intellectual, the environmental, the occupational, and the spiritual. And if we're really going to be successful individuals, we really have to try and master some aspects of these 7 dimensions that you spoke about.
Agreed.
Now, in doing all of these things that you've initiated in the JPS iLead program, how can you maybe share with us 1 or 2 success stories that you've really seen the individual transform because of exposure to this kind of strategy?
Well, I think one of the measures of success for us in terms of the program is the extent to which a number of these persons get selected for, promotions or other leadership roles at a more senior level in the company. And to date, we have been very successful to the extent that, the persons that we see are performing at a higher level and are showing up and are being given more responsibility have come from the iLead program. So that is a measure of success for us. I personally have a team of 6 individuals, not all members of the iLead or were selected for the iLead program, but I think the four out of the 6 are. And I have watched and been privileged to be a part of see them develop their leadership competence. Because one of the things that, I talk about in JPS is that we're great technically. There's no question about our energy expertise and our ability to master the industry from a technical standpoint. What I do find we struggle with is our leadership ability, just the hallmarks of emotional intelligence, how to, to create teams and how to build teams that can move mountains, if you will. They don't really teach you that, right? They don't teach you that in engineering school.
No, not at all.
So you come into an environment and you start to talk to people about their responsibility to harness the potential of others once they're leading a team. And people look at you kind of funny, but they get it and they start to talk more and more. How can they show up? And it has been a pleasure to see how leaders now take responsibility for their teams. Some were naturally doing it anyway. Others are really seeing the benefits of focusing more on managing their teams with that sense of heart and that sense of purpose. And invariably, they're getting that exposure through iLead and the corporate wellness program. And I'm convinced that it has contributed significantly to JPS's success in the last couple of years.
Excellent. So, leadership is so important in anything, really, because, as you said, a result of what you see on the outside is really what you see on the inside. And if you have strong, morals that are guiding you, people who are being influenced in a positive way, it will transcend into the behaviors that you see demonstrated in, the people at the external.
Yes.
So we want to know, how is it that you stay motivated every day? I know you mentioned that you meditate. Are there any other things that contribute to you staying motivated?
Well, I think my family is my biggest source of motivation. I have an amazing support network. I have, I couldn't ask for any more in terms of my husband and my daughters and my parents, and just this sense of I can do anything. I can go after any dream. I can chase any aspiration. And every day, I think about that support network. I feel fearless, right? And I come into an environment and, nothing phases you to the extent that, you're going home to this sanctuary. I call it the solace. Once I turn into that driveway, I'm like, oh, I can just breathe. And, that is so important and has been such a critical part of my success, my home and my family. And that keeps me, because I just refresh. It's just like a reset.
Yes.
I also, oh, definitely. I also find that I make a conscious decision to find things to appreciate and to be grateful for. So, whenever things are going awry or whenever there are issues and roadblocks and anything that might be coming at me that might be causing me to put up some negative reaction to or feel negatively towards, I try to do what I call this process of pivoting, where I try to understand what am I reacting to in this moment and why. And then I deliberately try and focus on something that makes me feel good. So I will, say, okay, this is really bad, but there's something great about this, right? You're learning. That person had on a wonderful pair of shoes. I wonder where she got it from. So even if she's barking at you, you're like, yo, I love your shoes. Your shoes them look wicked. Where by it? I'm always trying to find something to appreciate, and that helps. It really does give me a sense of perspective and a context that says, listen, this too shall pass. Nothing is permanent, right? So
oh my goodness,
it keeps me focused.
That is so true. This too shall pass.
Yep.
All right. Now, you spoke a little bit a while ago, or mentioned that you tweeted about, the fact that globally we're so connected to all of these different apps and devices. I recently traveled and I find it so interesting to observe people and their behaviors in the airport, and you'll have families traveling and none of them are speaking to each other. They're all glued to their electronic devices, whether it be their tablet or their phone or their computer, but they're not really having any interaction with each other, even though they're traveling together.
Right.
And so could you share with us, do you have an online resource, a tool, website, or an app that in the business that you operate in, you just cannot live without that? It really drives your success.
That's a hard one. Because, funny enough, my daughters are millennials, and the truth is they are very much driven by their smartphones and what they find. But we just went to the country just last week, and it was amazing how they were the ones insisting that Wayne and I stop and play a board game.
Oh, nice.
I was like, what the hell? This is so unusual. Like, put out the phone for me and then come on, let's play Kaluki. I wasn't Kaluki, Taboo.
Nice.
Anyway, so my online resource is Twitter. I find that Twitter is very effective for my industry because there's a lot happening in energy right now. And even when I was in banking, it was the same. I was in charge of innovation, and that was a new part of banking at the time. And so I would keep abreast of some of the things that were happening in other banks, or just the whole concept of innovation. And I'm just so proud of NCB. I'm shamelessly plugging them, that, how they have done, an amazing job at transformation and digital investments. And so Twitter is a must-do tool and a must-have. I use it for a lot. And I also keep up on the news. I don't get to read the papers, so I usually go to Twitter for news.
Yes.
Both local and international. And, I can see how everybody's commenting and all of that. So, yeah, I would say Twitter, both from a professional standpoint
and personal.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. Now, you mentioned at the beginning when we were asking you how you got on your journey that the book, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph
Murphy. Right. It's an old book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's old, but it's available on Amazon, guys. So if you're listening, you can definitely go and take advantage of that. Right. Could you share with us if there are any other books that have had the biggest impact on you?
Well, there is also Greg Braden, who is a crossover scientist, mystic, philosopher. He makes that bridge between science and spirituality, and talks about the book that I comes to mind right now, because I read a lot and watch a lot of his videos. I used to, is The Divine Mind. And he talks about the connection of the heart to the mind, and just how powerful the heart is as, electrical and magnetic field for energy. And I just went down that rabbit hole after Joseph Murphy many years ago, and was influenced by those thinkings and those perspectives. And it might sound a little new agey, but it just makes a lot of sense to me. So Greg Braden, there'll be countless others: Anita Moorjani, Wayne Dwyer, Neil Donald Walsh, John Randolph Price. Their list is just amazing. There's so many authors out there who've had personal experiences, or who through their own insights and research have really started to show us a different way of thinking about who we are when we come onto this planet and what we're here to do. And I find myself gravitating toward those considerations and moving away from the typical views of, you're here and you must suffer to get everything you want, and when you live and you're dead, and no, I can't. It just doesn't make sense to me. And
so
because
it
doesn't make sense, right? I just kind of like, no, I want to think about something else.
True.
Yeah.
And you do control. At the end of the day, you have a choice as to what it is that you're going to feed your mind with. So
for sure.
in any situation, you are not forced to go according to what's happening around you. You can choose what it is that you want your mind to be thinking about, what you want to expose yourself to. And with the age of technology, it's right at the fingertips, through your phone or your computer. You can basically, as I said, feed your mind with any content you choose to feed it with. Whether you want to watch news every day and hear about people being killed and just say, the world is just, terrible and the world is coming to an end, or you want to focus on the fact that there are lots of opportunities and positive things that are still happening despite the crime and violence that exists.
That's so powerful, Yannick. I'm really, really happy you said that. And we need to shout that from every rooftop in Jamaica and across the world, because it is that sense of empowerment that we need people to start embracing. I believe in collective consciousness, and when you have societies, towns, cities, and they've been caught into a mindset of lack, a mindset of doom and gloom, it does show, it does reflect on what that city, town, country can eventually achieve, and how they continue to evolve. And so we need to start telling people that they do have a choice, right?
Yes. In everything. I find it fascinating too when I tell people, you have a choice in what you're doing, right? And they're looking at me, no, I don't have a choice. And I'm like, that's why you're not moving forward. You have a choice. Nobody has put shackles on your hand and said, listen, you must do this.
Always.
So we have a lot of listeners who are business owners and managers who feel they have great products and services, but they lack the constantly motivated human capital, which is the most important resource any organization can have. Because even though customer service and customer experience embraces a lot of technology, I do believe that globally, people still want human connection. So if you were sitting across the table from that person, what's the one piece of advice that you would give them to have a successful business?
Again, this is something I tweeted a couple of weeks or months back. This is really important. I don't believe the consciousness of an organization can rise above the consciousness of its leadership. And so I would say focus on your leaders. At NCB, we had 2,500 people, and we had possibly 10% of that as leaders. At JPS, it's a similar percent. It's a similar ratio. We have around 200 leaders. And one of the things that Kelly Tomlin and I spoke about when I came over was, listen, we can't effect change just carte blanche across the entire workforce. Let's focus on the leaders in the company. And that would now start to send a different message, right? Because you're cascading a certain philosophy, and you're even looking and cultivating certain talents and a certain way of being that defines a culture. And it comes through the leaders.
Yes.
And so I would recommend that companies start first by paying far more attention to the persons that are being given responsibility to lead others. And, even from the head, I'm saying this to boards and to directors and to shareholders, talk about your leaders from the top and how does that cascade down to the frontline supervisor, because there is a constant thread running throughout leadership around how that culture is built, and it's going to come back to the decisions leaders make on the ground every day.
Sure.
How they treat their staff, what they prioritize, how they are measured, what is valued, what is given discretion and autonomy. And it really, really, for me, starts with leadership.
Amazing. All right. Now, Sheree, what's the one thing that's going on in your life right now that you're really excited about? Either something that you are working on to develop yourself or your people?
Well, I think I'd mentioned energy is very exciting right now. It's just a wonderful time to be in the energy business because there's so much. You're in an industry of significant disruption and transformation. A very one-way model of delivering energy to customers has been around for 100 years, and now we're seeing that turned on its head. And so, alternative energy, and what does that mean for energy independence, in particular for Jamaica, that is so blessed with natural resources, such as sun and wind. And I'm part of a team now that's looking at alternate energy far more strategically and far more intently than, say, even 5 years ago, when we're still struggling just to keep energy prices down and to get Jamaicans to, start to conserve and to even think about how they can put the power in their hands. Now we're saying, okay, what other solutions can we provide them? And renewable energy, different options of delivering energy in a distributed way has me very excited and has me very hopeful and optimistic for Jamaica's energy future.
Great. That sounds exciting. So we're more to hear more as the months progress, right?
That's the plan.
Excellent. Now, can you tell our listeners where they can find you online? We know you're on Twitter. Can you give us your Twitter handle, or if there are any other social media networks that you're connected with? It's
at Shermart, SHERMART. That's Twitter. And the Instagram is MartinSA876.
All right. So we can find you on Twitter and we can find you on Instagram.
That's
and
right.
you are also on LinkedIn.
On LinkedIn, right.
As Sheree Martin.
Sheree Martin.
SHEREEMARTIN. Awesome. All right. Before we wrap our interview up, Sheree, we always like to ask our guests if there is a quote or a saying that during times of adversity, they will revert to this quote or saying to kind of help to refocus them, energize them so that they can continue on the goal that they had, set forth to accomplish. Do you have one of those?
Oh, Lord, you're putting me on the spot. Okay. Neil Donald Walsh. Nothing has meaning except the meaning you give it.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Nothing has meaning
except the meaning you give it.
Except the meaning you give it. I like it. Yeah. Very nice. Neil Donald Walsh.
Neil Donald Walsh.
Very good. Very good. All right. Well, thank you so much, Sheree, for taking time out of your very busy schedule to sit with us here today and share all of these wonderful nuggets and, pieces of information that I am sure our listeners will be able to take out different pieces that can be applied to their business and even their personal lives.
Okay, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. And I just want to use the opportunity to say, Yannick, you have been doing an amazing job.
Thank
And I've been
you.
watching you from afar. I'm so proud and happy
Thank
for your
you.
passion. And just please keep it up. And the world needs you. So
Thank you
blessing
so
and
much.
love.
Thank you so
Okay.
much. So just want to remind our listeners that they can follow us on Facebook in our closed Facebook group that's Navigating the Customer Experience Community, or you can follow us on Twitter at Navigating CX. So thank you again. Until next time, I'm your host, Yannick Grant. We really appreciate your support of this podcast. Are you ready to grow your business even more? Or improve your leadership skills? Or train your team members in the art of customer service? Give us a call at 305-848-0815 or visit our website at www.yannickgrant.com. That's YANIQUEGRANT.com. Remember, 305-848-0815 or visit our website at yannickgrant.com. Our new online course, Mastering Customer Experience and Increasing Your Revenue, is now available. The link for this will be on the show notes of each episode starting September 7, 2016. The first 2 modules are free, so hop on over, have a look, and take the steps to increase your revenue.
Thanks for listening. For more awesome resources to take your customer service game to another level, head over to navigatingthecustomerexperience.com. See you next time.